So Israel Adesanya is taking on Jan Blachowicz tomorrow at UFC 259. And I wanted to give my thoughts on this fight. First of all, I really love this matchup, stylistically and storyline-wise. We have Jan Blachowicz, who is the old veteran of the sport. He's 38 years old, just turned 38. I think his birthday was February 24th. But he just turned 38 years old. He got the light heavyweight belt. He wanted to fight Jon Jones after he knocked out Corey Anderson. He was hoping to fight Jon Jones, but instead, as you all know, they did the match for the vacant belt between Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. Now, my coach and I were discussing who was going to win that fight, and we both agreed Jan by TKO in the second round. So we were really glad about that. Then you have Adesanya, who's the young person. This fight is like the reverse of Luke Rockhold versus Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping was the old veteran who stepped in on short notice to challenge for the middleweight strap in 10 days, and he was a 10-1 underdog. Jan Blachowicz is the old veteran, but he has the light heavyweight strap, and Adesanya is the younger champion moving up in weight class to come fight him. So it's very exciting. Now, I don't necessarily have a positive prediction on who's going to win. Not positive. Anything can happen, but there are a couple of scenarios that I feel are most likely to happen. In the case of Jan winning, if I were Jan's coach, I would be telling him, don't rush in there and try to get Adesanya out there very quickly. The reason for that being is because Adesanya, he has fought big people before. I don't know if he's fought somebody quite as big as Jan yet, but he has dealt with bigger people before. If I were Jan, I would be looking to use deceptive power. And what that means is when you throw a jab, if you don't throw it solid, you can throw it really soft and get the person comfortable with the power that they think you have. And then when you really want to hurt them, you actually hit them with the full jab. So I'll be seeking to try to trick Adesanya. I wouldn't try to out-counter strike him. We saw what happened when Paulo Costa tried to do that. And Adesanya's level of striking experience and his understanding of the sport is very high. He's had a lot more experience as far as just kickboxing goes. I think he has had 81 kickboxing matches, if I'm correct, 75 wins, 6 losses, something like that. And his level of knowledge is way up here when it comes to striking, as opposed to, you know, everybody else in the sport that he's facing. A lot of people think Jan is using just power. That's not true, though. He has increased a whole lot since he first began fighting. You can look at his knockout of Luke Rockhold. A lot of people attribute that just to Rockhold being chinny and to him moving up in weight class, which of course did have something to do with the power. But the way Jan landed it was proper. When you look at his the way he shifted his foot, the way he rotated his shoulder when he landed that left hook on him, it was done, you know, perfectly. You can't do much better than that. Same with Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson ducked straight into it, but again, Jan shifted. His striking was very precise. If that wasn't Corey and that wasn't Rockhold, those punches still would have hurt somebody who you could say, you know, has a good chin. Someone like, I guess, Santos or, you know, Glover. Whoever he hits is going to feel it. Now, so for Jan winning, I feel that the longer the fight goes on, the more opportunities he's going to have. Of course, that's true for Adesanya as well. But I feel people are overlooking Jan's growth that he's had as a fighter, as opposed to Adesanya's, you know, being levels above him. I do feel that Adesanya's kickboxing is way better. You can't just, you know, hope and make up for 81 fights. There's a whole lot of experience there. So he has a lot of experience as far as kickboxing goes. You can go back and watch some of his glory fights where he was really showing off his skill, showing his skill and how much he had grown. So for Jan winning, I do feel the power edge is on his side. I do feel he's also patient. So is Adesanya, though. They're both, Jan has developed a bit of a counter-striking style himself. The reason why I'm not giving it to him just based on his performance against Dominic Reyes is because there were a few things that went into that fight. First of all, Reyes' defense is not as good as Adesanya's defense. Also, Reyes is a southpaw, and you could watch the Weasel's breakdown of why Jan Blachowicz is so good against southpaws, and you can see how that actually helped. That was style makes fights, and that style of fighting a southpaw is in favor of Jan's style of fighting. Adesanya, footwork very good, striking very good. The other edge I feel Jan may have would be in the grappling. If Jan can close the distance and get his hands on Adesanya, which is, pretty much bound to happen in those fights, I feel is possible. Yo Romero attempted to take him down, didn't succeed, but I feel that the size, the strength, and the power of Jan, he have a better chance of doing so. If he wins by submission, it's probably something people wouldn't expect. People are probably hoping and expecting for a stand-up fight between the two of them. But again, it comes down to, what do you want more? Do you want to test your pride and stand up on the feet? Or do you just want to win and defeat your opponent and change levels? And if Jan feels he has the advantage on the ground, I feel he should try to change levels and take him down. How I see the fight playing out, the first round, I feel if Jan's coaches, and this is just my opinion, I'm not giving this as a positive prediction, I feel if Jan takes his time instead of rushing in, which is what Adesanya would want him to do, he has a chance of winning. I feel the first round, he's going to do what he usually does, which is, kick that leg. He likes to pop that tire so you can't stand up on it. He's going to go for the legs. But Jan also likes to leg kick as well. And there's going to be a difference in power there. When he lands on Izzy, he's hitting a smaller target, he's hitting a lighter target, he's hitting a more fragile target than the people he usually hits. Yes, the speed is going to be different between the two, but, you guys heard Connor, precision beats power, timing beats speed. And my coach tells me that all the time. And if you get in there with someone who understands timing, that's the difference. Adesanya, I feel, has a very good understanding of timing, of course. Just about all fighters do. They have some level of timing that's same. But what he really has the big X factor in his advantage is distance. He understands distance very well. And if you don't understand distance, that's how a lot of people miss. But because he can understand distance, that's how he's able to cause the damage he does against people when they say he doesn't have power. And like he said himself, he doesn't need the power. He's got the precision. So if I break it down, timing is on Adesanya's side. Footwork and head movement, definitely on Adesanya's side. Counter striking, I think the gap between them is closer than people would perceive. Generally, I think it's a bit closer. I do think there's more of an edge towards Adesanya. There's definitely more experience there, but I do feel that Jan has made some serious adjustments in that area. For Jan, we have powers on his side. I do feel the grappling's on his side. I'm not dismissing Adesanya's grappling. I do feel Jan, though, has the edge there. It's not just because he has, more submission victories than Adesanya, but I feel that he is just used it more inside of the cage. So I feel his experience there is going to be greater as well. And, anyone who's ever wrestled or just did jiu-jitsu and they did it inside the cage will tell you it's not the same thing. It's different when you're in there and someone's throwing punches at you or throwing elbows at you, knees, you're trying to get up on your feet. So as far as the experience goes and the, using that, I feel Jan has that edge. Power, I definitely feel is on his side. But I think the intangibles, or not the intangibles, the things that people are not looking at that are going to make the difference is, I don't think power is going to be necessarily a deciding factor. It can be, but I think that would be more of a exception rather than rule. I think the timing and the range control is going to be the rule. I feel Adesanya has the edge in the timing. Common sense would just tell you if it's going to be a stand-up fight, Adesanya wins. But the chance of power making a difference is there. Polish power can make a difference. So I do feel that the longer the fight goes on, then that plays in Jan's favor. I said that earlier. But again, it also plays in Adesanya's favor. As the fight goes on, he's going to understand Jan's timing better. He's going to understand how Jan's countering. And because I feel Jan has less tools in the shed to bring out against Adesanya, I think Adesanya is going to be able to read all those. So he could win by decision. I feel he could win by decision. Now, the worst time we've seen Adesanya hurt and even take the most damage was his fight with Kelvin Gastelum. So we do know that he can be hurt. And, Jan is a really, really big person. So he's going to, and he, like I said, he understands the weight shifting, the weight transfer. not just trying to punch with his arms. He punches with his whole body. He puts his whole body behind his shots when he's looking to knock somebody out. And he made a statement against the last person who moved up against him from middleweight to light heavyweight. I do feel that Adesanya's defense is a lot better than Rockhold's was at the time and still is. Hopefully Rockhold's gotten better since then. But I do feel that if the power that Jan has is too high, then what Izzy's expecting? He's going to have to change his game plan. If the speed is too much that Jan was expecting, he doesn't necessarily have to change his game plan. When someone comes out there who's faster than you, what my coach would always tell us is he just changes angles. We saw this with Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Vasily had the speed advantage. But as he was shifting and trying to change angles and cut him off, all Teofimo had to do was move at a slower speed, but in a smaller direction. You know, if someone's taking a 3-foot step around you, all you got to do is take a 6-inch change. The gap in speed isn't so great to which you're not going to be able to do that effectively. So I feel that Israel Adesanya's speed worked against a lot of his previous opponents because they either sought to beat him at his own game like Paulo Costa did and try to out counter-strike, or they did what Yoel Romero did and they just, I guess Yoel Romero was the only person who did that, where they sat there. And I don't think Jan is going to play into Izzy's game as much as people are seeing it. I do not believe he's a big dumb brute. I believe he has a very good understanding of the fighting game. He has a pretty high ring IQ. He's got a lot of losses, and if you look at him, he's learned from those losses. 3 of those losses he's avenged, and he's done so in very good fashion every single time. So he's gotten better. He's gotten a whole lot better, and it really depends on whether or not it's going to be a stand-up fight or whether it goes to the ground. And I feel that, like I said, range control is on Izzy's side. Power is on Jan's side. So, I feel it's going to be a really good fight. But I think a lot of what people are expecting to happen isn't going to happen. I think that people feel Jan's going to try to rush in and knock Adesanya out. I don't think that's going to happen. I may be wrong, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to be patient, and he's going to seek to be the thinker in the fight. I feel Adesanya is not going to just come out throwing everything extremely fast and trying to knock Jan out very quickly. I think we're going to see a very patient contest between the two men. It might seem a little boring to people at first, but I think as the rounds go on, the fight's going to get better and better step by step. That's what I feel will happen. And if I were Jan, I would be aiming to, I would be prepared for the fight to go the distance, but also not disappointed if it did. A lot of people were probably thinking, you're light heavyweight, you should knock out this middleweight. He's not going to be, he shouldn't be listening to them. I really hope he isn't. I know sometimes ego gets in fighters' way, but I don't think that Jan is that way mentally. I think he's pretty calm, pretty focused. Adesanya, the same thing. People are expecting him to knock Jan out. A lot of people think that he can do that. And it's possible, it can happen. Like I said, when you're fighting a counter-striker, my coach is a counter-striker, and we spar, he tells us all the time. Because he understands range and he understands angles. And I feel Adesanya may be looking more towards a knockout than Jan may be. And that's why the fight could play out a little differently. But like I said, once they get in there, when Adesanya feels the power, he's not going to know. He has a game plan of what to do if and when he feels it. But he's not going to know what that game plan is until he feels that power. Because if someone hits softer than you expect, you could change your game plan. If they hit harder than you expect, then sometimes you may have to change your game plan. We saw this with Darren Till versus Jorge Masvidal. After Till dropped him in the first round, he hit him again with that left hand a couple more times in the second round. He was still winning that round. And that was when Masvidal said, okay, I'm not going to be able to win this by decision. We can't let this go to the distance. I got to try to put him out of here. And he saw that opening where he landed that left hand on Till. Then he did it again, knocked him out. So those do or die moments can happen in a fight. And that's when a fighter's changing their game plan right in the middle of a fight. And if either one of them does that, that is, something shocking might happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Jan submitted Adesanya. like I said, striking is Adesanya's forte. He's done it for a very, very long time. He's got a whole lot of fights doing it. So I would seek to play towards what his weaknesses are. Now, his grappling may be way better than we expect. He might try to pull off a flying triangle against Jan. You know, he's that kind of person. He's not, he can back up the flashiness and he knows how to use it. But that's what I would be seeking to do if I were Jan. I would be prepared for the fight to go the distance. I wouldn't be trying to please the crowd and just knock him out in one round, because that's what they think should happen. And I would seek to use the grappling, which, you know, could wear Adesanya out. And I would also be focusing on those leg kicks. I would want to, that's where I feel someone could beat Adesanya at his own game, because he does like to do that. He likes to kick those legs. And, you know, if you just check and you kick back, it's very simple. If you've prepared for it, I feel that's where he could, you know, make a difference. If Adesanya can't dance around and, you know, use that footwork, then he can be a little more static. That opportunity for the knockout is going to come easier for Jan than if he just tries to focus on his hands. If he uses his legs and he tries to take out Adesanya's legs instead, I feel that that's where he can have the advantage. And you saw what his foot did to Dominic Reyes' side. So, you know, he's got some power there. So that's what I would be aiming for. I would be aiming to look for a technical. I would try to break him down bit by bit. I wouldn't try to just overpower him or outmuscle him. As far as the grappling goes, I would be trying to wear him out. If I'm Adesanya, I would be seeking to do pretty much the same thing. I wouldn't be looking for, you know, one punch to do it or one counter to end it all. I would be looking to break him down piece by piece, and I would be aiming for the body, because we know Jan can get tired. So I would be I would be giving those leg kicks low, get him used to that. The next round, move the leg kicks up to the body, and to just switch it up back and forth, back and forth. You know, try to make him think, try to freeze him where he's standing, and kick that body, take the wind out of him. Because then if he's slower, that's more opportunity for me to get the knockout. Same thing, like I said earlier, for Jan. If Adesanya's legs are gone, the opportunity for a knockout is there for Jan better. So I hope they both go for that technical type of fight. I know it may not be the most exciting for some people, but it's actually pleasing to watch when you know what's going on.